Hey guys, John here. I have Brad from Canada with me from Scene Invaders. I also have Rossie McCree with me, and we're going to be doing our Nightmare Alley review for the Oscars. You know what you guys need to do though? You guys need to go on ahead, go over to Good Pods, rate us over there, tell us what you guys think about it. It's like social networking for podcasting. That's what you should be doing. Then come back over here and check out our review for Nightmare Alley. Better yet, just open up another tab and show us some class, not some ass, and give us a good freshness off of this review and everything too. Also too, go on ahead, rate us on Spotify. Why not? You're not doing anything. And then of course, go on ahead and rate us on Apple Podcasts as well, because that was the old school people who brought up podcasting and everything. So go on ahead, do all that stuff. And with further ado, let's get on with the review. And here we are. Like I said, we're going to be doing our Nightmare Alley review. I hope that everybody is having a great night tonight. Like I said, I have Rossie McCree with me. I have Brad from Canada. And so anyways, here's the thing. With Guillermo del Toro, I love his originality on some things. Some of the stuff is very authentic on some cases and things like that. But when it comes down to Nightmare Alley, I feel like, with this one, I really feel like it's forgettable in some areas. But before I actually go into my whole entire deal of what I think about this film, let me just go on and start off with the plot. It starts off in 1939. A director named Stan Carsile obtains a job at a carnival and watches a geek show and an act in which a deranged man eats a live chicken. He begins working with the carnival act, Madame Zena, and her alcoholic husband, Pete. So that's a small synopsis of what this movie is about. So let me go on ahead and bring it over to Rossie real quick because of the fact that she didn't even hear about Nightmare Alley or anything like that. But it's going to be interesting to hear her take, and then after that, I'll pass the ball over to Brad, and then after that, it'll go back to me.
Okay. Well, never heard of it. You always bring up new movies, and some I've seen, some I haven't seen. But this was awesome because I've never heard of it, never seen it. So I watched it earlier today, and I love Bradley Cooper. So we start off, and I'm, seeing him, house is on fire. Okay, it starts off with there's this guy with this secret, and he ends up him going to the carnival, basically living with carnies. I'm kind of like, okay, this is interesting. Then you meet the other characters, and if you've seen a lot of carny movies, it's pretty much, the same thing. You got your one-eyed person, you got this person that can do this. So I'm interested, but still kind of unsure of, what's his name, of Stan Carlton, who is, you see visions of still that house on fire, that situation. I thought it was interesting. It kind of was, really slow for a while. I was kind of bored until it gets to a certain point, because I'm thinking the whole time that, okay, we're at the carnival, you're meeting the people. He's interested in learning Pete's talent, which is, I guess, mind reading or being a medium, able to, see dead people. All right. So I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but where's this going? Carlton, is he just wanting to take over Pete's job? Because you see a lot of him wanting to, get to know Pete, finds out about what Pete does. And by the way, Bradley Cooper's character, he's a hustler. All right. So this is a perfect place to hustle. So he gets in there and, he learns about what everyone's doing, wants to do what Pete does. But Pete warns him that, I don't even do this anymore. Like, this is deep, the being a medium and all that. So I'm like, okay, interesting. But I'm thinking the whole time that we're going to spend time at this carnival place. So I'm just kind of sitting back.
The carnival was a very interesting backdrop, and I thought that they would spend a little more time there. I didn't think the whole movie would be there, but I thought they would just. It was such a very muted yet colorful backdrop for everything to happen with all these really interesting characters. Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No. That's fine. Please. I have to
apologize. I'm Canadian.
It's all good. It's all good, man. So I'm trying to get interested in this film, And it does happen. You know, at a certain point, you realize that he meets Molly, who is our, you know, girl that can withstand electricity throughout her body, which is really interesting. The cage guy, that was odd to me. I guess they call him a geek. Have him caged up, so that's different. So I'm thinking that something big's gonna happen here at the carnival, and it does, because remember when the guy,
it springboards Stan's enthusiasm to where he goes.
Right.
Yeah, it definitely is a very good backdrop. Stan, like I said, when he's running from something.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, when the first flashback hits, it shows a burning house, and, well, spoiler alert for all of this, he's dragging a corpse into the middle of the room.
Right.
It doesn't show that it's a corpse, but it's a bag with some feet sticking up, so it's a corpse. He sets the house on fire, he gets on a bus, and he kind of wakes up however many hours later, and there's the carnival.
Right.
Gets offered a job for $1 to help out. But before that, goes to see the show that is advertised, and I guess it probably the main attraction is
the geek
show.
is the most popular one that they had over there.
Yeah,
and you could see the crowd being glued over to this thing with the geek, and I like how they played off of that narrative though with the carnival, because I'm thinking that this whole entire movie is going to take place in this carny and everything, which I was okay with, because that's what I like. I like these movies with the carny, with the freak show, stuff like that. And I wanted to see a little bit more manipulation with Bradley Cooper's character and do it that way.
Well,
versus the other way.
He's a player. Like, he showed up as a player, did not, and just, like, first of all, I've always said, like, Bradley Cooper, you can't look like that. I mean, he can act. He's funny as hell in interviews. He can sing. He can direct. That's 5 things. You can't have 5 things. That's too many things. Like, knock it off, Bradley Cooper. Like, and then you star in this movie, and, like, his looks and his charisma. I think that Guillermo del Toro kind of handpicked him and all the other actors just to show how fresh-faced Bradley Cooper would be. I mean,
and
Ron Perlman, who is a fantastic actor, but has a very distinctive face. Same with Willem Dafoe. Same with the gentleman that played Pete.
Right.
It was just a really, one of these things is not like the others, but everybody just got along. Everyone got along. But the one thing that really, really kind of freaked me out is, I've been to circus as I was a kid. I love the idea of the circus. I wanted to run away and join the circus, but I can't run. Too tired. But I always thought that the circus was a big family. I would like read Batman comics, and Dick Grayson, the Flying Graysons, always presented as a big family. And then this one has like a little bit infighting, you know, but nothing too bad. But it was the geek that intrigued and terrified me.
Mm-hmm. It had like a Wolfman kind of vibe to it.
A man-beast kind of thing, that, like, they keep this geek kind of in a cage. He's addicted to what, opium? Was it?
Opium, alcoholism, and then, of course, just being down on his luck, basically.
Down on his luck, yeah. So the ringmaster, for lack of a better term, Willem Dafoe, kind of gets guys down on their luck.
Right.
Lures them in with alcohol and puts like a drop of opium in each drink, so they keep coming back for more, and just keeps them in a desperate. They keep them locked up in a cage. So when all the other guys are doing, like, out playing cards and having fun, this geek is locked up. He's not part of it. It's not part of it. And that just, that made me, this sounds silly, it made me sad.
It made me sad for him.
It made me sad for everybody. Everybody was like, Bradley Cooper, who is so basically the hero of the story, how he's presented, and he starts off and he killed somebody. And so it was really hard or presented that he might have killed somebody.
Yeah, I was going to say, because you're not.
It's hard to relate.
You know?
it was hard to relate and get in anybody's corner because none of these people were good people. There was no one's corner.
All except his wife, though. Bradley Cooper's wife is probably the only
Molly.
main one.
Molly.
Yeah. Molly was the only one that was actually good.
She was
Innocence.
She's the hearts and the brain of the operation because she's the only one with soul. I think it was all the electricity that might have actually shocked it into her.
I did like the fact how. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Go on ahead, Rossie.
No, I was going to say I did like the fact that, you know, Bradley Cooper's character, like we said with the geek, the fact that he ended up making kind of like, I guess, friends with him, you know, letting him know that you're safe with me, you know, and got to know everyone else's job. And then I like the fact that he did have an idea of making the shows better, like with Molly's, you know, with her show, like building the electric chair and doing that, you know, his obsession with Pete and what Pete, you know, does, like when he, you know, Pete, obviously he's an alcoholic, and the scene where he's, you know, drunk and Bradley goes over there and sees that little book that he always carries with him. I didn't understand, or I didn't get that maybe he could have killed him, because I remember earlier when William Dafoe's character kind of let him know everything that's going on around there. This is the batch of alcohol for this. This is the batch of alcohol for this.
They left that open.
So
it open to interpretation.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, you see him die, but did he? Because you didn't see that different alcohol. You saw him drinking on the bottle.
What do you think? Now, Pete was an alcoholic, and was presented as not a hopeless alcoholic, but just someone that was, you know, in the twilight of his years, an alcoholic, a former mentalist, had written down all his tricks, all his tips, his sleight of hand, the holding it up, the fingers, the cues, everything. Now, I think what Bradley Cooper and Pete, they weren't mentalists, but they're geniuses in fooling people to think that they're mentalists, just with the cues and just reading people. So I think that when, like, Pete had that great speech that says, I don't do this anymore, because as soon as you start believing your own lies and believing that you're like a god, because you have this ability that other people don't, it'll be the end of you.
Exactly.
And a little bit of foreshadowing for what's going to happen to Stan.
Oh, and speaking of foreshadowing, there's a lot of foreshadowing in this thing too that I want to mention too. But I want to go on too. At first, I thought this was going to be a redemption story for Bradley Cooper's character, where basically you're not sure where it's going to go, because I feel like maybe it might be a redemption story. Maybe this is part of his past. Maybe even being with these Carney people, maybe he might actually change or whatever. But no, he's very shady. He goes in, he looks like a detective, looking around, seeing things, absorbing everything too. But I like how him and William Dafoe have dinner, and he's eating, and he tells him, he's like, and he tells him about Enoch. And Enoch is actually this little baby fetus that's actually in this jar. That is very freaky. It's actually part of the freak show.
Yeah, if you go to freak shows, you'll see like in the big jars, in the pickle jars, you have like a mermaid or a fairy or something like that. Enoch was just this fetus baby that had a third eye in its forehead. And it wrote a story about it. Really creepy.
I love the story and the narrative around it and that little legend that he tells. But also too, I liked how he goes in and tells them. He goes, "Look, this is what I tell them. Whenever somebody wants to be a geek, I go on ahead. I act like I'm not interested. Then I said, wait, hold on a minute. Where are you going? Let's sit down for a minute. Let's have a conversation.
Let's have a drink.
Then have a drink. Have a drink or two." And then he winds up telling him, "Look, this job is just temporary. And as soon as I get another geek in, you'll be on your way to another job within the Carney.
We'll bump you up in the Carney. This is a starting position.
This is just a starting position." And then next thing you know he's the geek is there for over 4, maybe 5 years or longer until they get another one. They can't do it anymore.
They ultimately die.
Right.
Like,
and that's
they never graduate because they're opium addicted. They're eating raw chicken. How long is that going to last?
Right.
And they're just disheveled and gross and dirty and filthy. And like that opening scene, like it is a very graphic scene where
Yes.
the geek actually, you just see him submit. And
Mhm.
a geek is a time-honored carny tradition that used to have just guys that would bite the heads off chickens. That was their thing.
Okay.
But the way Del Toro did this is that he almost did it almost a vampiric way. That he held the chicken to his and just kind of bit its neck,
Right.
and the blood spewed and everything, and just a very very visceral, graphic way. But that's Del Toro. Like his
Right. That's just his style.
very subtle, but whenever there's blood in a Del Toro, it hits you. Like now the blood doesn't flow often, but when it does, it's very symbolic.
It is. It definitely is. And also too, whenever I look at I like the funhouse when they're looking for the geek and everything too. I
Right.
love that funhouse and everything. I really liked how freaky that was and everything. That's why I was hoping that they would actually stick with the carnival, even though in the 1946 version it's the same thing,
Okay.
where they go from the carny over to him, over to Bradley Cooper's character, stealing the stuff from Pete and everything. But also too, instead of the woman who does the trade cards, Xena,
Yeah.
and everything, to explain to them what Pete does, it's actually Molly that explains everything to a carny. I'm like, wait, why are you explaining this to a carny? Should you be explaining this to the character that Bradley Cooper's playing?
Well,
But in this
you didn't
one,
know enough of him yet, and it just shows like it's more of you can have your act, but your act is 3 levels deep and maybe like a team of people
Right.
to make it work. So Molly was there doing her act with the Tesla coil and the electricity and stuff, but she was also had hands in everything else. And much like Bruno, the strong man, had his hands in everything, and the little person, I forget his name, excuse me, had his hands in everything. Everybody had a part. So I think it was really crucial that when Bradley Cooper, like, kind of, I mean, it's Bradley Cooper. If you ask me out, I'd say yes. Like, kind of wooed Molly away
Right.
and kind of had him to herself. That's when he used the handbook that he took off Pete's corpse, more or less,
Yeah. Right.
to perfect his act, to really just like strap a rocket to himself, to like just elevate his own hustling style to a mentalist. And it showed they were off in Buffalo and did very, very well for themselves with mentalist shows. Like they were in high society. Like
I like
but
the fact
yeah,
that
go
how
ahead.
they showed how they showed the trick. Xena. When they have the scene where they have the people, she's getting ready to read cards or do what she does. But I like the way that they showed the trick, taking the basket, going under the stage.
yeah, the
I love
mirror
that
in
they
the
showed the mirror. Yeah, I thought that
yeah,
was
that
really
was
cool
great.
because, yeah, because you don't think about that. You don't know. And then when they show you that part, I was like, that's freaking clever, how
Well,
they did that. And, like you said, kind of carnies are a close knit people, they're family. So when an outsider comes in, it does take a while for us to trust you and to kind of let you know what we're doing and how we do it, to make sure that you're going to be here. So, yeah, I like that. And also, I wanted to concentrate on the fact that, they show the geek a lot because, like you said, it's a main attraction at the carnival, but also watching the film. And when you get to the end, it all comes back around. And
Yeah.
I love that. So paying attention to that geek that they show a lot. Yeah, you remember that because it comes back around. And I love how that happened. Sad, but it was awesome how that happened.
yeah, it shows the
They
transformation of.
a down
Matter of
on
fact,
his luck, like
yeah,
the rock bottom,
Right, exactly.
which is where you find the geek. But you know what?
Right,
He didn't actually show the geek a lot. Like there was the opening scene, like I said, when
right,
he bit the chicken, scamperings of him escaping,
right,
the demise of the geek who died.
right.
And they left him in the street in front of a hospital and left. And then there was just, oh my God, the line that haunts me right now is he said, "Oh," because you hear screaming, you hear like a cage rattling, you hear almost like the withdrawal of an addict. And Pete's talking to Stan. He says, "Oh, sounds like he's breaking in a new geek. Poor son of a bitch."
Mm-hmm.
Just that
Wow.
term, breaking in a new geek.
Wow.
Like
It's
he was a horse or something.
like he's breaking a
Yeah.
horse, a wild
Yeah.
horse or something, and just gonna bend him for his own way. Willem Dafoe is such a refined greaseball, slimy, slimy, slick, awesome character
Yes.
in this.
Yes.
Like, keep both hands on your wallet when you're standing next to him, or like when you see him from a distance, because you know he'll shake your hand, make you feel great about yourself as he is slowly putting a knife in your back. It is, oh, he was such a great character.
And
it was
so
an
good.
awesome cast. The cast that he put together. I mean, it is an awesome cast. It's a little bit of, like you said earlier, everyone from different places, but you wouldn't expect to see them all in this same film. So that was awesome seeing that and saying, "Oh my gosh, that's so and so. They're in this film," and you know, Kate Blanchett, she's in this film. It was just a mixture of different actors, and I thought that was really cool. And that's why I'm surprised that I never heard of it or seen it, because a lot of these actors, William Dafoe, you know, Kate, Tori Collette, you know, as Xena.
Oh, they were all great. Like,
they all did a great
it was
job.
it was a small cast, but powerful.
Yes, absolutely.
Nobody was phoning it in or anything. It was perfectly well casted, perfectly well executed. Yes. But here's another thing I want to bring up before we actually go out from the Carney part, because this also connects him when, of course, Stan winds up leaving with Molly, though. But he winds up, I like how he winds up looking at the sheriff that's about to stop the Carney from happening anymore. And he starts looking at him, and you can see his brain start ticking, like how Pete would do things.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
he's been around Pete and Molly, and not Pete and Molly, Pete and young lady Xena long enough, and helping them with her act, that just through osmosis you're going to pick things up. And one of my favorite scenes is when Stan says, "Pete, if you want to teach me something, I'm willing to learn."
Right.
It was so hard. And Pete,
you can tell Pete doesn't want to do it.
No, he's dying to do it because he's been forgotten. Like, he was this Mentos, and no one has brought it up because now it's all Xena's show. And for someone to actually ask, "Hey, can you display and provide me any of the wisdom you used to have?" And when he says, "You know, it's been a long time since somebody asked me to teach him," he's been craving that, because he was a great performer in his day. You could tell it from the way he was doing the act for Pete, with the flourishes and all that and everything. Such a performer, and was dying to either teach his craft, not fully, because he didn't want, I'm assuming from the way he talked about it, something kind of tragic happened to him while he got too far into the mentalist routine. He wrote it down. That might be the reason he started drinking, just to kind of forget it.
Right.
But it was a, hey, this is a gift. This is a power. You know, I'm a comic geek, so with great power comes great responsibility kind of thing. But he was starved for that kind of attention and admiration. If you're going to get that from a young buck, a young man that everybody in the Carney respects just because of his talent and skill and his looks and, you know, just revitalizing gusto, that's got to be very, very special for someone of an age of generation that nobody really bothered with anymore.
For sure. And it's like, to be honest with you, I felt like a father figure and everything for Stan, to be honest with you, because all of a sudden he's like, wait, I'm not forgotten. Like you mentioned, Brad, he's like, I can actually teach him stuff that I never thought that I could teach anybody else. And I feel like I'm useful for once, instead of being stuck doing a side gig whenever I'm much more than a side gig. But because of the demons that I crossed doing this mentalist stuff is the main reason why I stopped doing it.
It's safety on the sidelines.
Right.
Because remember, his concern was, you're going to believe, you get to a point to where you believe the lie. You believe that you actually can do that. And it can ruin you. And I remember that was his main concern with
even the science stuff too.
Yeah, all that.
Seance.
Just you'll start believing that, and his thing was you don't want to lie like that. You don't want to
believe
do
your
that.
own
So
lies.
it's kind of
If you believe your
right.
own lies,
I'll
what do you
show
say?
you some, but you're not going to have my book.
Turn a God-fearing man evil.
Right, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the line.
That
But I
was
think
that's
it's like, obviously Pete didn't have any children, so you don't have if you don't have anybody to bestow the knowledge on, you would be kind of sad and a little forlorn that all this great talent that you've amassed, you have no one to pass it on to. And I think that was the father figure and the mentorship with him and Stan.
Right.
But the sheriff thing made me laugh though a little bit because he sees his feet and everything. He starts noticing the Saint Mary and everything and stuff like that.
The lift in his foot, so he assumed that he had polio as he was a child.
Right.
And saw the chain, so he probably has a cross. So, God-fearing man's gonna know somebody named Mary. Just how he put it together and easily won the respect of the other carnies, which was just kind of another show of his power, for lack of a better term.
Right, and then during the celebration and everything, that's when he decides. I think that was a distraction, though, in a sense, for him to get out of it, because now he actually has that whole entire high now about him, where he feels like, okay, now I'm ready to go. Now I know I can really take off now. Right. And I don't have to worry about this carny anymore. And I'm going to take Molly with me because she'll be a great asset to me.
Right.
So therefore, I'll have these people distracted enough to where they won't even know they were gone. Right. So therefore, I'm going to go on ahead, take Molly with me, and they won't even know it. Next thing you know, they wind up knowing that Molly is gone. They know that Stan's gone. They're like, well, where's Molly at? And then you can tell Ron Perlman's character does not really care for Stan that much. He's still kind of weary about him.
Bruno the strong man. Yep. I love Ron Perlman.
He goes, I like how he goes, my damn back.
He was friends with Molly's dad. And he, knew that, basically that's like my daughter. I have to make sure she's okay. I promise that to
look after
her dad,
that was a great line.
So you can't have her basically. And he not knowing that, Molly's already in love with Stan. So, and Stan did have a good idea, hey, let's take this on the road and make money. I just wasn't expecting for them to leave, because of the connection that Molly had. So I'm not seeing them leave. I'm just seeing him doing better shows. But then we find out that actually they are going to leave.
I think Molly wanted to leave.
You think so?
Part of her wanted to leave, just not because she was sick of the show, because she obviously loved everybody. She kept in touch while her and Stan did leave. Right. But I think it's just, if this is your whole life, and it's a good life, but is there more?
Exactly.
Any young woman or young man, if you get that taste, like, once I've seen Paris, how to go back to the farm.
Right.
Show me Paris.
Right. And that's actually how you can feel that way with any job you go to. You're like, okay, there's got to be more to life than just doing what I'm doing. There's got to be more out there. And that's exactly what Molly's doing. She has an innocence about her, but she's like, I love Stan. I love my family. But if push comes to shove, I'm going to go on ahead and see what else is out there, because Stan seems like he's actually showing me more to what I can do with my abilities. So I'm going to go on ahead and go on the road with him and see what he does.
And treating her like a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds it from between Bruno and the rest of the cast, it looks like she's been very coddled,
sexualized,
very taken care of.
Right.
And no one looks at her as a beautiful young lady.
Right. And remember, she told Stan, I've never, gone far with the guy.
But did you hear that second thing she said? I've never let a man go this far by my choice.
Yep.
Right.
It was
that's right. That's right.
I think that's also why Bruno, with his 5 pounds of meat and bone, a great line too, is very protective. So there is a subtle and sad, which again, like I said, this movie made me sad, a rape implication.
Right. Absolutely.
So she's probably been very well taken care of.
Yes.
very well taken care of by the family. But
Right.
if you're put in a cage by your family, not like the geek was, that was a literal cage.
Right.
Um, eventually, you want to go. You got to go see new things. And I think that's why it was very easy for her to leave the stand, which landed them in Buffalo with this great new act, Stan's ambition and her talent and Stan's talent. And now they're doing, what was it, 2 shows a day
2 shows.
in
Yeah.
2 shows a day.
in hotels, high-end hotels,
Right.
making stacks of cash, rubbing elbows with the elite, like
Right.
really just using their talents and got them really, really far.
And it was exciting to see 2 years later, you see them. And then when you see the hotel that they're staying at, for me, I'm like, okay, where's this going? Because they left. Now they're there. And for me, that's when I'm really interested in the story, because there's so much that's going to happen now. Now they're in the city. I wonder what they're going to do. And you see that they're successful. Stan's doing great. Like, he perfected the mentalist act. And yeah, it was pretty cool to see.
It's funny you say that, Rossie, because I've talked to so many people that say the opposite. I'm in the same camp as you are. Like, okay, the carnival was the stage set, and now where are they going? A lot of people just said, well, it kind of lost it for me once they lost the carnival. Once they left the carnival. I've heard that from more people because the carnival is very colorful, and there is an air of like just creepiness around the carnival, beside the geek, beside the freak show, and everything like that. But I really like to see them like spread their wings and just I wanted to see what kind of trouble they were going to get into. Because you're being that good at what they're doing, and a natural hustler, possible 2-time murderer between the gentleman at the beginning and Pete to get his book. And like I said, everything was left ambiguous.
Right.
It was.
So it was like up to your own interpretation. So like I said, as sad as this movie made me, just from around all the performances, and there was no one to root for.
Right.
There was really no one to root for. Like, I just watched Aliens the other day. You're rooting for Ripley. Like, you're on her team. There's the Marines, and there was no one to root for, because if you root for Stan, it's like, oh, wait, the murderer is my hero in this? No, not yet.
I didn't check that box off yet. I'm like, well, he just committed 2 murders. He's also doing a lot of other shady stuff. So this guy is actually the villain that we're supposed to be caring about. So now I'm thinking to myself, this is not even a redemption story at this point anymore. He's way past that, because of the fact that, like Pete says, he's thinking that he's God, basically.
Right.
To the point where he's believing his own lies.
Right. So that's not good. When you see him 2 years later, and how he's perfected this art. But watching a film, you do remember what Pete said, because that's in the back of my head. Like, okay, this can't get any. This is going nowhere. Like, this is going to be bad. What he's doing is going to be bad. He's going to get caught up. But how is he going to get caught up? Because he knows he's now believing this. Like you said, he's God now.
Well,
right.
So I love when they show the
how does it get caught up? Enter Cate Blanchett and her connect. And
this was
outstanding.
Can I just say this for a minute, Brad? Was this? I felt like with Cate Blanchett's character, I was scared for him. I was actually scared for Stan. Whenever I first saw her, she's a tough, rich, independent woman who doesn't need no man, doesn't have no man. You're seeing with her with this elderly man and everything, and she's over there dissecting everything Stan's doing. I'm like, this is not going to end well for Stan. He's got to BS himself out of this situation somehow.
Her name is her name's Lilith, the original vampire. Like, you like. I don't think the name was a play on anything other than she used him with her contacts and his ability and her ability as a psychologist, psychiatrist. I mean, she played the player.
Wow, right.
Like, masterfully,
Absolutely.
and she played a victim, and so much to the point that I'm like, well, let's get into it. She has contacts with very powerful people, being a psychiatrist, psychologist, that come and tell her the sins they've committed,
Right.
and they're looking for redemption. And if she can kind of sow the seeds for Stan to use his powers that he's
Right.
fooled everybody into to like ostensibly pay Stan exorbitant amounts of money in the 40s to bring them peace through like dead loved ones or like people that they miss and stuff. The couple that
Oh, right.
their son
Right.
Oh my
I
God.
enlisted.
remember.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
remember
wow.
when Brandy was sitting next to me. Oh, it's the woman from Back to the Future. I said, "Yeah, don't get too excited." That's what
Yeah,
I told
no,
her.
something's gonna yeah, when I saw her and she is um what's her name? Marion Steenburgen?
Yeah,
Steenburgen?
that's
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
She is such poise and
Yes.
such like elite acting in everything she
Right.
does,
Right.
even to the point in which where she says, "Well, we're gonna go see our son now."
Oh
And
wow.
then
And
What a scene.
and then how like for anyone watching, do you know how you go see and do you know how you're reconnected with your dead loved one?
Right.
You kind of have to die.
right,
So,
That was shocking.
oh,
that
I was
was
not
Oh
when
my
I
expecting
first
God.
that
saw
I
at
it.
wasn't
all.
expecting that.
I'm gonna be
Oh,
honest with you. Whenever I first saw that, I was not expecting that. Also,
Yes.
too, I'm thinking this is not going to go good for Stan now because that's going to give him a lot of backlash
and it
and
Yeah.
everything.
did.
Especially in, I was just thinking the newspaper aspect of it
Right.
and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I was not thinking of the radio. I was
the
thinking the
radio, which
newspapers.
yeah. So, it wasn't. It was those two, and then the judge that
Hmm.
was well pretty bamboozled between Kate
Yeah.
Blanchett, Lilith's character, and Stan's character
Right.
on just kind of a reconnection with his dead wife,
Right.
and you find out that the judge is not exactly a saint either.
Right.
Like he's like a misogynist and just a it didn't really say that in an attempt to recreate a relationship with his dead wife if he had murdered other women, but he said and admitted that he hurt other women
Right.
Right.
in an attempt to like cleanse his
Well,
soul. I don't know how that works, but
remember though, Kate Blanchett even opened up her blouse and everything and
Oh,
showed
yeah.
Stan. He goes, "This is what happens when you mess with the wrong people
Right.
and thinking that you can do everything." And that was to me what the judge did to her.
a positive 100%.
Right.
Yeah, because she's
Or
been down this road.
But this
did she do that to entice Stan to
I
okay,
think it was both.
let's get this guy. Like let's grift this guy for every penny.
right. So you
And
believe at that point that she's on Stan's side. So I don't see at that point, okay, they made a connection. She let him see her scar, warning him, don't F around. But then when you see the meeting with Stan meeting the judge in that big room and they're going
with
to
the
do the
polygraph
polygraph on him.
tests and everything.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
I'm
that was
thinking,
creepy.
how is he going
That
to get out of
was
this? There's no way he's going to get out of this. They're going to kill
me
him
too.
until he pulls that perfect scene where I
Yeah,
see
he
someone in here, or
talks
I
about
feel someone.
the
That was
investigator and
that was classic. That was
yeah,
gret. That
because
was so great.
he was failing the polygraph test
Yes.
until he slipped into his character
Yep.
and because that's another foreshadowing thing. If you believe your own lies,
There you go.
and he had because he had believed
Yeah.
his own lies, and he grifted his way right through.
Right.
Now, another line that I really liked was the judge had a bodyguard, and you've seen this bodyguard in every other movie.
Absolutely.
You've seen him. I wish, and he's one of those actors that you've seen everywhere, but you don't know his name. He had that one line that said, I care for that man very deeply.
Yeah.
He got me out of some jams. I care for him a lot. And that should scare you. That means like, I don't trust you. He trusts you. I do not. If you screw him over, I'll kill you. I won't hurt you. I won't embarrass you. I won't humiliate you. I will kill you. I will end you.
Right.
He said it so politely, but just so serial killer, sociopathic. I'll kill you.
Right.
You know what, though? To me, I like that, though, because you can do that in a threatening way and not have to be yelling or anything. Because perfect example is in The Sopranos, where you have the twin brother and everything, and the twin brother threatens Tony's mistress that he was seeing with the Mercedes dealer.
Yeah.
And the way he does it is he's not yelling at her, he's threatening her. He has a piece in his hand. He winds up threatening her because next time it won't be his penis in your mouth. It's going to be this gun. And so you can do it in a threatening way without having to actually yell. You can do it in that kind of way. And I loved how they play that off.
Well, I've been threatened a lot for whatever reason. I'm a smartass or whatever. And the most threats I took absolutely serious is when nobody raised their voice.
Right.
So the way he just did that, like masterful, like this sounds so aristocratical. I'm going to learn that man's name. I'm going to learn that actor's name.
Because he gave me goosebumps. I'm not going to lie, dude. I'm like, I'll be like, you know what? I was faking the whole time. Look, my 3 o'clock, I'm going to go and head out this way. You guys do your thing. I'll do my thing. We don't meet in between. I'm good. Right. But no, but it's all about the hustle. It's all about if he can actually get this guy. And he knows that he can. And then, of course, now he's up to seances now.
Yeah, at that point, when he asked for that, I'm like, dude, pull out. Like, listen to me and leave it alone. How are you going to pull that off? You can't pull that off,
I kind of saw where it was going. But Stan was kind of threatened. Stan was kind of threatened, like, you make this happen, or like,
you're dead.
You're dead.
Yeah.
So he was kind of painted in the corner, and that's just getting in too deep. So he had to get Molly to kind of pose as the judge's dead wife from a distance, and everything was set up. Cate Blanchett told her how to do it. There was some resemblance, which is a big coincidence, but it's a movie. So the seance was set up. Everything was going to set up. Stan was so confident. Molly was not confident, to the point that she ran.
Right.
That she ran. Stan caught up with her in that other great line. All I'm doing is quoting lines, but it's a movie. Molly, everybody has left me. Yeah. Don't leave me too.
And that gets her because she has a big heart.
She's got a big heart.
And she loves him. So
she does.
She comes back and does it, even though she knows, because like we said earlier, she knows the ins and out of what he's doing, the carnival. She knows all that stuff. So this is not good. He should not be doing it, but she's going to help him out, reluctantly helps him out. And wow, when the scene happens,
help him out because she also knew that he was sleeping with Cate Blanchett.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Because rookie mistake, don't draw women.
Yeah, why would you have her why would you draw her in the book when you drew Molly earlier? And as a woman,
oh, Molly, look at this picture. She's gonna leave through that,
and it doesn't make her even that more important now, because now it's making him look like a player. Where it's like, okay, this guy doesn't care about me as much as he says he does. I see him draw somebody else. Thank goodness I can draw stick figures, by the way. But I can draw
women. Also, the alcohol, guys. Remember, he didn't drink.
That's right.
Remember, he didn't drink. He never would drink.
Him to drink,
Finally,
he
takes a drink from her drink, and I'm like, at that point, you're going downhill. And then when you see him with the alcohol, it's like, this is not good. But at that point, though, I felt like okay, they really made a connection. You saw the scar. Now you take a drink of her drink. There's your guys' connection.
The
Like
kinship. It's
the
I'm
kinship.
here with you.
He's not
I'm here
thinking
with you.
anything. He thinks she's right there with him. Like
Yeah.
he has nothing to be concerned about when it comes to her.
I don't drink, but I'll drink with you.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And well, as you know, because seances don't really work.
No. Because he's thinking that the judge is just going to get down on his knees. He's going to pray.
Right.
And they're going to go their own separate ways. This is a guy that truly loved his wife. He's not going to just see her and pray with him and then be redeemed.
Right.
If Brandy passed away or something like that, or someone that I loved passed away, would I just stand there next to the guy that just did a seance, or would I go up to?
I'm not going to be happy with it. Hey, good seeing you. You go off now. I'm going to pray. Everybody praying?
No.
Yeah.
We're good.
No,
we're going to do the praying
hug
thing
my wife.
right now.
I'm going to go hug my wife, which is what the judge did, and decided, you're not my wife. You're somebody in costume with an exorbitant amount of blood on her hands. And
that's like overkill with the amount of blood that was on her.
Oh, yeah. They wanted, well, Cate Blanchett said she's going to be bloody. So we don't know why.
Yes.
They don't need to say, blood on her hands and blood by her genitals, unfortunately, because she had a forced abortion, which is another thing you find out. So the judge has just been beating himself up. Worth it, you don't. The judge is not a good character. Nobody was a good character except Molly. Molly was the only righteous character in this.
Yes.
And so he runs over, sees it's not her, and he says a terrifying thing to Stan. He's like, I'm going to ruin you. I'm going to ruin you.
Right.
And then you do something you never, ever do. The judge hit Molly.
Oh, that's right.
And then Bradley Cooper beat the everlasting, ever-loving hell out of him. Beat him to death. And that was a very graphic scene.
Yes,
when it showed the judge's face after Stan laid the fist to him, his nose was caved in and it killed him. The bodyguard came running. Another horrific scene.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
That scene's going on though. You actually hear the bodyguard on the radio about the people that committed suicide because of Stan. So I'm like, oh my God, now it's coming full circle.
This is not good. This guy is a scam artist. This guy's nothing's good is going to happen. So he comes running and starts shooting at Stan. Stan and Molly kind of get away and run the dude over in a horrible.
Right.
Like I said, when Del Toro does blood, he does it well.
Yes.
But that just stuck with me. But I actually heard an interview with somebody that worked with Del Toro that he said when Del Toro was growing up, he would see dead bodies in his neighborhood. He grew up in a very poor neighborhood. He would see people get hit by cars and just see corpses as he walked the streets. So you don't know if that had an influence on how he places actors after their demise or during their demise or anything like that, but he has a firsthand experience in seeing death, for lack of a better term.
Wow.
So, but yeah, that the car scene where he reversed. I would say backed over. He didn't back over him. He reversed, and the guy flipped over the car, and then he drove over him.
Yes,
which was just awful. And that actor, who's I'm gonna know your name.
You can even see his brain. That's how graphic it was.
I know. Yeah.
After that, but then you see Molly and them escaping, and then of course that's when we wind up seeing them in this alleyway, and then he lights the car on fire. Molly winds up running away. But I like the lighting in the alley of a cross that's lit up as if it was for redemption, to pray for your sins, kind of deal.
You're thinking that Stan's going to, okay, listen, I've gone this far, and I have to stop. So
Right.
he does what any normal person would do. You go to the other woman you're sleeping with.
Right.
The really smart, really crafty, really cruel Kate Blanchett, Lilith herself, and he goes to receive to get the money that he's been made. He stashed all the money with Lilith because he didn't want Molly to find it. Which, just don't keep secrets, guys. Stop. Tell everybody the truth all the time forever, and you'll never get caught. You'll never ever get caught. If you don't learn anything from Nightmare Alley, tell everybody the truth all the time forever.
But the money, finding out that the money was all ones.
Singles. Yep. Because she took all the money and just left stacks of ones for him so he would take off. But Stan is also a very good reader of people, and when she dropped the one line, "I do love you."
That's right.
That's when he's like, "No, you don't."
Right.
This is bullshit. This is all
everything
bullshit.
is BS. But also, too, I liked how when she shoots him, because what about now, Stan? Is my gun heavy now?
My handbag. My hand
because the handbag.
You didn't notice I had the gun. Am I powerful now?
Am I powerful now?
Oof.
And then the strangling, and then, of course, and at first, Brandy and I thought, and I even thought this the first go-round, that she shot him in the throat or something, but she just nicked his ear.
Yeah,
so
splattered his ear all over.
Yeah, well,
another horrible scene.
It was just gushing.
Oh, it was bad because when he went to reach for his ear, I'm like, oh, don't touch it, don't touch your ear. Yeah. Oh, just don't. Oh, that's gonna be bad.
But then we go on ahead. Then we wind up seeing him go on the train, and this is another foreshadowing of, once again, where we wind up seeing Stan meet the geek for the first time. We wind up seeing the chickens, and then he winds up sleeping behind the chicken coop cage.
Everyone was thinking, like, why did he run the rails? Well, like, Kate Blanchett is a very powerful, very powerful woman. She knows she has his recording. She has him like dead to rights, so he would have to go underground, and like it's not as sexy as it is in like Breaking Bad, going underground, all really cool. No, when you go underground in real life, you're a hobo. You off the grid means like off the grid. And back in the 40s, very easy to go off the grid. You just go to hobo camps, which is what Stan did.
And he's just bumming alcohol the whole entire time. And then finally, the bums even got tired of them bumming off of him. So the bums got tired of the bum.
No more mooching. Yeah, when the homeless look down on you, you know you're just this
you hit rock bottom there.
And that's where it showed the flashback, because he was cold. It showed the flashback of him way back, callback to the corpse in the house that he set on fire.
Right.
It was his father, his alcoholic father, which is why he never drank.
Right.
And his father was dying of, alcoholism. And Stan did one of the most cruel things I've ever seen. He took the blankets off his father, who was in just a wireframe bed, and opened up the windows, and the snow started coming, and his father froze to death as Stan just sat there and smoked his cigarette, which he smoked a cigarette in every scene.
There was
not a scene, or maybe 98%. He always had a rolled cigarette, and always did that cool thing. Had the really cool cigarette case.
Right.
I used to smoke a lot of years ago. I always wanted a cigarette case because I always thought it looked so cool. Just open a cigarette case and tap that. Have a fancy lighter. I looked like a big freaking loser because so I never did it because I didn't want to get beat up. But like, I'm not Bradley Cooper. Some guy, Bradley Cooper, Kate Blanchett, can pull that off. But he just sat there and smoked a cigarette and watched his, at that point, invalid father freeze to death. And then he set the house on fire. That's the beginning scene.
And I like oh, sorry, Rossie, go on ahead.
Oh, no, it's fine. No, I like the fact of, like I said, it all comes back around full circle. you know, he ends up back at another carny place, and he really needs a job bad because, like you said, Brad, he has to go off the grid, you know, and so he wants to. I thought, you know, oh, okay, so he's going to get back in and he's going to help these people with their
Do the
carnival, and then he's going
mentalist.
to go off,
He's
and
great at his act.
yeah, right, like, okay, he'll go and do that for them, and they'll love it. But when the guy was like, no, we don't do that anymore. We you know, that's old school stuff,
lame.
you know. Yeah, but I do have a job for you. And as they're showing the cameras showing his face, and you see how worn down Bradley Cooper looks,
the
then
tears,
it
the
hits me,
shovels.
oh my gosh, he's going to be the geek.
Yeah.
How freaking great is that? Sad, but still.
When the carney's
bringing
like,
it all
oh,
closer.
you smell like piss. Get away from me. Go
Right,
get lost.
right.
Oh wait, come back. Have a drink. One carny do another.
Yep.
Right.
This
right.
is just temporary.
This
And then as soon as he says,
but do you know what a geek
temporary,
is?
Yeah.
As soon as he says the word temporary, Brad, all of a sudden you see Stan's emotions. He just breaks down crying.
He's like, would that be something you'd be interested in? Just, mister, I was born for it. And you see him just cackling because that might be what we've all been waiting for, is the redemption, the atoning for
everything he's done.
Just the grifter, just the sleaze, everything. Right. He made his living taking people's money, preying on their emotions, preying on the heartbreak. That's why it was kind of like, it was really hard to get into anybody's corner. Right. And it was even hard to get in Molly's corner because, like, why are you with this guy? Sure, the money's good, but like, she just wanted to be free.
Well, I feel like this though, when you're with somebody long enough and stuff like that, that's all you know. That's who you know, and that's it. Even if you had friends and this person's being a total ball bag to you or anything, you're gonna go back to the person that was a ball bag and everything, and that's it, because that's how that person was programmed. Because that's all that person knows.
Bag you
that's
know
they're
comfortable the ball bag you don't.
Right. But yeah, that's how I feel though. I mean, it's about being comfortable in the place that you're at with somebody, and because of the fact that you know, he showed her some caring at first, and then after that he started turning into a total ball bag. So
and he's when an attractive man, I mean, you know, easy on the eyes.
Exactly. And even that was they even said the same thing. Even Xena said the same thing. He goes, hey, you're easy on the eyes, sweetheart.
Right.
Because remember, they wind up doing it inside the house and everything while Pete is walking outside.
Having a drink.
Yep. But
so everybody watch out for really, really good looking guys. They're not good.
Didn't you think in the beginning though that Xena and Stan would have the relationship? Because that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought that it would be, you know, because you see them hook up in the first scene. So I'm like, oh, okay, so he's going to be sleeping with her and whatever. And then Molly comes into it. It's just a little side thing.
Really didn't take him long.
Would happen, you know.
Really didn't take him long. Showed up. Hey, you got a bathtub? Sure.
Yeah, right. Actually, no. Let's get it on.
That's a good line.
Right. You see her with the soap, and I'm like, she getting ready to bathe him, and then I'm like, oh, she's getting ready to bathe him. Okay.
Bathe him. Yeah.
Bathe him.
Yeah. But you know, I was thinking the same thing too. Even at the hotel, whenever Molly and some of the Carney people come over there to visit them, I'm thinking that Xena was probably going to go with Bradley, and then of course Molly goes with the small guy, and everything. But she winds up still being with him. Hey, Brandy, how are you? But that's what I thought. But you know, I have to say, I mean, with this film and everything, I saw the black and white version. I saw the classic version before doing this podcast, and it is a lot different. It's okay. Better. Here's the thing: a movie reviewer is never late nor is he early. He arrives just as it means to. And you're the same case though for me, because you're actually engaged to me. So you're welcome. So therefore, it's okay for you to be late. But
well said.
Thank you. But I watched the black and white version, the classic version. And Pete did not want to actually teach Stan, because him and Xena are inside the car. Who can actually see them traveling. This is what I liked about the black and white version.
Okay.
With some of the stuff was you got to see them riding to different locations.
Okay.
Even though it might be one location, they travel. That's the whole part of a traveling carny, is they travel. This one, they didn't look like they traveled. They just stayed in one spot. No wonder why the cops found them. But how would they know? I don't know. You've been here for over 3 years, dude. You need to go on ahead and pack it up. But,
That's true.
But look, but here's the thing. Stan goes, I want to learn what you know, Pete. And Stan is drunk, right? And it's black and white. The
Pete
van has these curtains.
Was Stan drunk or was Pete drunk?
No, Pete's drunk. Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Pete's drunk. He comes out from the back in the middle because it's actually opened up where the curtains are. He goes, I'm not going to teach you anything because I don't want you to be learning anything like this. And then he goes back to being drunk in the back, and that was it. So I'm like, okay, so there's a lot more tension between Pete and everything too.
And
I liked how this one sets up better because we got more of a background of Stan. In the black and white one, he's just in the crowd and he's just like passing by kind of guy. And he winds up getting a job at the Carney. So that's one thing that I feel like that Del Toro did with this film was he gave us more of a background on the character versus him just being there.
Almost more realistic relationships too.
Sure.
Thought the blonde played a better character than Bradley Cooper. You're talking about Xena. I think that's who she's referring to other than Kate Blanchett.
The blonde, two blondes.
Yep. And the movie was strange. Yeah. It was a strange movie, but
it really absolutely was strange.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you guys say out of if you want to do the Brad from Canada rating, how many out of 6 beers, what would you give this movie?
I'll give this movie 4 beers.
4 out of 6 beers. That's really good. That was
4 beers.
John, what do you think?
I'll do a 3.5 bottle of beer. Like that would be my 3.5 rating.
Really? You know what? I would actually give this. I watched it a second time, knowing everything I know, and you watch the almost de-evolution of Stan. You know where he's ending up. That you cannot be this righteous, and you can't ride that high the entire time, or else it wouldn't be a movie. So I would give this 5 out of 6 beers, honestly, because I just
so fresh.
Everybody. Like you said, nobody phoned this in. And it was actually, as far as the Oscar movies that have been nominated, it's really up there because this was the only one that I felt had a real story behind it.
Right. Okay.
I don't know. Coda for me is up there.
Coda had a great story, but I mean, I think maybe just a story more suited to me.
Okay, I got you.
And my likes.
I gotcha.
Yeah. I don't think it's going to win the Oscar. Unfortunately, it's got some really tough competition. But I'm glad it got nominated.
Right.
Definitely deserved it.
Out of all the movies, this movie made me feel something more than any other. Like, it made me feel an emotion. Sad was the emotion. So, I mean, I don't like that I like this movie, if that makes sense. Because it made me feel bad. And I watched it
because
twice,
you feel bad for the Carney. And
I feel bad for everybody. I feel bad for Stan. And he deserved everything he got. I feel bad for the judge that he got screwed over. And he got his face caved in. That was bad. I feel bad for the bodyguard who was just trying to... I feel bad for Bruno because like he lost... He didn't finish off. I don't feel bad for Willem Dafoe. Yeah, he was an Aquaman, so I don't feel bad for anybody that was an Aquaman.
But it ended up being a good movie. I mean, all around, for me, it's something that if you wouldn't have sent me, or if we wouldn't have reviewed this movie, I would never have watched it. Even if I, heard of it, I probably wouldn't have, because it's not something that I would normally watch. So I'm pleasantly surprised. Like I said, when we get into the film and they get into the city and just everything that happens. I was interested. I was like on the edge of my seat as far as how far is he going to go? Is he going to get caught with this, doing this stuff with the judge? And then at the end, how he ends up being that geek, and just, yeah, it was surprisingly good. I
Another
liked
thing,
it.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Would you
No, no.
recommend this movie for other people that haven't seen it? Would you say, hey, you should see this, you should watch this?
Or at least one-time view.
Yeah, one-time view.
I
I
wouldn't
would,
say
if it was
it's
played
a
in the
waste of
theater,
time. It's not a
I
waste of
wouldn't.
time.
Yeah, don't stand in line to go see it. But if you can watch it on HBO or something like that, Netflix, absolutely give it a watch. But I wouldn't stand in line to go see it. No.
Same here as well. I mean, I said this yesterday and everything. I felt like the set pieces felt small for it to be nominated for a film. To be honest with you, because those set pieces makes everything so small
Mm-hmm.
in this film.
Do you know why I think it was nominated? And it was very subtle. I only noticed this on the second watch. Um, it was the way every actor moved.
Okay.
They moved very subtly, but they moved the way people don't move now. I don't know if it's just because it's a period piece,
I think it's because of the period, though.
but the way like their hands would throw up in the air, just
Right.
and not even when they're performing their tricks or anything like that. They were just kind of very flourished movements and just very like theatrical.
Right.
And it just that just struck me the way Kate Blanchett moves, but she's like from the theater, it slowed in. But even Bradley Cooper, his moves were very subtle, but he owned every room that he walked in, even when
Right.
he was trying to hide.
Right.
Um, and just the performances were just spot on. The acting was splendid in this.
And they're nominated for Best Picture, Best Cinematography, Best Design.
I think it's going to get best cinematography.
Yeah.
I'm still rooting for Dune to get that.
For cinematography? Yeah, that's a tough one
because Dune has
that was
those excellent
huge.
wide shots and also gives us more of. When I look at cinematography, I'm thinking of wide shots. I'm thinking of deserts. I'm thinking of those wide expositions whenever you look at movies and stuff. So that's why
And
I'm
that's funny
putting
because
that on.
I think of the smaller things. I think of the like I said, the movement of the actors, but they're both valid. They're both valid. Both movies were shot wonderfully.
Right.
All
The
right.
use of the lights and the shadows and everything. It was just really good.
I think so too. And here's the thing: I love Guillermo del Toro. I like his originality when it comes down to certain things. Yes, there might be aspects to other films that he might borrow from or whatever, but he still tries to make an authentic piece. And with Nightmare Alley, I'm gonna have to agree with Rossie. It's perfect for a one-time watch. I wouldn't go to the theaters to see this one, even though I'm a diehard Guillermo del Toro fan and everything. But what captivated me was the Carney because I'm a huge fan of stuff like that. Of course, I'm a fan of Rob Zombie for crying out loud, who actually grew up around the Carney era, though too. Matter of fact, him and his parents were actually Carnies.
Rob
and
Zombie
everything.
was the best concert I've ever been to.
Same. And this movie I would actually recommend for a one-time watch. I would say pay attention to every single thing. There's a lot of foreshadowing in this movie.
Right.
This movie clocks in at 2 hours long. So if you're seeing it on HBO Max, go on ahead, take yourself a pee break or whatever, come back and everything else. Therefore, you don't have to miss out on anything because you can just go on ahead, click that pause button, and then go on ahead and move on.
We're pretty spoiled when it comes to streaming and all the rest.
Right.
Back in the day, you had to sit through a theater and miss a big plot point because you had to use the restroom.
Right.
Exactly. But, I enjoyed it for what it was. I do appreciate Guillermo del Toro at least attempting this remake that I didn't know it was a remake.
I didn't know it was a remake.
Until last night.
When you mentioned that in the chat, like before we started, I'm like, it's a remake? All right, now I got to check out the original.
Right, and you can actually check out the original for free on YouTube. So you can actually check it out. It's actually streaming on YouTube for free.
Well, look, that's in my budget. I can take that.
Okay, perfect. Free is always good. So anyways, Brad, tell everybody where that people can follow you at and all that good stuff.
Well, actually, you can check out sceneinvaderspodcast.com. That's where me and the guys do we got blogs. We've got other little insights. You can listen to our latest show. We have the Scene Invaders podcast that drops every week. Take care of your pop culture needs. So we have a Facebook page that is the Scene Invaders Lunch Table. We came up with that because you were never funnier, and you never shared more stories than when you were in high school at the lunch table. And check out our YouTube page because we're putting up a lot of shorts and a lot of good content. What just happened? You got Danny and Julia just killing it over with episodes of The Servant, Imagination Jason, who takes care of everything Disney. And if you're of a advanced age, you can check out the Retro Old Guy show, in which where I review stuff pre-2000 when I was a kid, my formative years, to see if it still kind of holds up. So, yeah, you can check that all out. Just go into any podcast app, check it, and then type in Scene Invaders, go on YouTube, type in Scene Invaders, go anywhere. Type in Scene Invaders in Google or ask Jeeves.
Okay. And I just want to point this out. I really am glad that I have a good team with me. I'm glad I have Rossie with me. I'm glad I have Charlie. I'm glad I have, of course, Alex with me. And then Abby also joined us. But it's even better when my channel just turned 7 years old today.
That's awesome. Congratulations on that. That's amazing.
This channel's been around for 7 years, and it's changed dramatically. It went from a YouTube channel to a podcast channel. Now it's going to be in between a YouTube channel and a podcast channel. So it's going to be an interesting change. Next week, we're going in full mode, just letting everybody know that we are making some small changes with things, but guess what? You guys are going to still get a podcast on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Then, of course, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to have trailer reactions that we're going to be dropping and everything in the morning time, 6 o'clock a.m. Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern Time for a.m. And then we're going to come back and do the Moon Knight after show on Thursdays. Then we also have Movie Lovers Rewind I'm bringing back. We talk about the movies turning 10 and 20 years old. What we're going to do is we'll look at the list of the movies that turned 10 and 20 years old on that day that it came out. And if it's something that we both notice, we'll go in and tackle down that one thing. But if there's like 2 films or whatever, we'll give a little small brief on it and then talk about the main film that we like. But still, it's going to be a fun time. I can't wait to bring that segment back and everything.
Can I be on that show? Because movies that turn 10 and 20 years old, that's kind of in my wheelhouse. That's actually when I was going to the theater and stuff. So there
you go. It's perfect.
But, you know, John, Rossie, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
Big fan of what you guys do. You guys are so much fun, and I really appreciate it. And anyone that's listening to this, like, subscribe, actually check out their show. It's amazing. 7 years?
Yeah, 7 years.
7 years. That is fantastic.
Thanks, man. I do appreciate it. And guys,
love it.
Nice meeting you, Brad.
Nice meeting you, Rossie. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely.
So another thing I want to do is this. Rossie, where can everybody follow you at beside on this channel, though?
You can, I know, right? You can follow me on Instagram at McCree123 hotmail.com. That's MCCREE hotmail.com. Also, you can follow me at Rossie Lynn Bark 1 on Twitter and Rossie Lynn on my Facebook page on Facebook.
Okay. And of course, guys, you guys can go on and follow me at Movie Lovers Night on Facebook and on Instagram and on Pinterest as well. Then, of course, guys, if you want your audio-only podcast of our episodes and many episodes that we do here at Movie Lovers Night, you guys can get that on all major podcasts. And go over to Good Pods. Good Pods is basically social media for podcasters or someone that likes to listen to podcasts. So go ahead, subscribe over there, comment, and also rate us over there. Rate us on Spotify, rate us on Apple Podcasts, rate Scene Invaders on Good Pods, rate Scene Invaders also on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify as well, too, because it actually helps us to be able to grow and find our audiences and everything, too. So go ahead, do that. Of course, go on ahead, go to buymeacoffee.com/movie lovers, and that's how you can go on ahead, donate $5 to $10 over there. But you know what, though? This is what I want you guys to do. Buzz me. What I mean by buzz me, I want you to go ahead and ring that bell. Ring that stupid bell on the bottom right-hand corner to allow you guys to know when we have something new coming up. Come on, ring me. Come on, ring my bell. Don't make me sing that song from the 1970s in that disco era.
I think I need to hear you sing that song.
Please sing it.
No, because then we'll lose all 997 subscribers, and then after that, Dan's going to have to be like, what the heck? I was helping you out with all this editing and everything, and now you broke it. So no, I'm not going to do it.
Goddamn Canadian.
But anyways, guys, here's another thing. Go ahead, like, subscribe, do all that stuff I just mentioned. Go ahead, follow me underneath Movie Lovers Unit on Twitter, Movie Lovers Unit 0 on TikTok. then, of course, if you're a sponsor or would like to be on the show, just go on ahead. Email me. Why not? At movieloversunite@gmail.com. That's everywhere that you guys can follow me at. Don't forget about our announcements that I just told you guys about for next week. Tomorrow night, I'm actually going to be doing nostalgia. Is it too much? We'll find out. Is it just there for simple sake of not moving the plot? Find out. So always until next time, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. Thank you, Brad, for coming on. I hope to have you back on again.
You're very welcome. Whenever you guys need me, I will bother you. I will be here.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Awesome. Sounds great. And always until next time, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.